listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 269, Dio, The Last in Line. And coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago, where we are full on covered in cicadas, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Competence Matola.
Competence. Is that like the motto of a state?
Maybe.
I can't even remember where we're at in the alphabet. I know we're somewhere in the early, we did Florida.
Yeah.
I think Georgia?
We're in Iowa.
No, that comes before Florida.
So
Iowa. Okay.
we did Indiana last time I did a state.
Iowa. Okay.
So now we're in Iowa.
I've still never been to Iowa, and it borders my state.
Interesting.
So what are they so competent about?
Iowa is the state with the highest literacy rate in the U.S.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like the highest level of competence. So I was like, oh, how do they measure that?
Well, I mean, potato, tomato, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're good at planting corn.
Yeah.
All right. Very competent folks there in Iowa. So for all of our Iowa listeners, thank you for being so competent.
Congrats. Yeah.
And congratulations.
You sending me that picture of those bugs. Now I understand. Like, even if they were harmless, I'd be like, yeah, and I'd run back into my house.
Come on, feet, don't fail me now.
I'd look at them and you hear me go, as I run away.
Did I send you the picture of the tree yesterday?
No, you just sent me the picture of your tire covered in bugs.
Yeah. I'll send you the picture of the tree while we talk, because last night I was walking the dog and there's like this tree, and you can't really tell from the picture until you zoom in, but there's just piles and piles and piles of cicadas in the mulch around the tree. And then when you zoom in on the plants, they're just all over the plants, all over the tree trunk.
Oh my God. Oh no.
I wish I had that cartoon sound effect of the running, like, you know, that one.
You could put it at the end, and that's the sound of me like seeing that when those are outside. And man, I thought that like ragweed and pollen were like a nuisance around here, which they are.
Yeah,
but I
for
mean,
sure, yeah.
I take like yellow dust all over everything outside for a few weeks over that.
We got that too. my outside table on the patio is completely covered in that like thin green, like dust from the pollen or whatever, yellowish green. But yeah, so I came out this morning to drive my kids to school, and yeah, they were all over my car, just all over the tires. I'm like, well, I guess I'm taking them for a ride.
Oof.
Yeah,
or squishing a bunch of them.
Yeah, and all around the perimeter of the garage. It's just crazy. Yeah. So no joke. Thomas Jefferson was the last president to experience this. I just don't know how we're going to deal with this as a country. But Illinois wasn't even a state the last time we had the double cicada brood.
Yikes!
I might be just weird because it just doesn't bother me. Like my neighbor is like, oh my God, I took my dog out and I almost threw up. It's like, are you okay? Like, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, I think that there's something about bugs. It's just, it's like, I can't, you have to have the visual in your mind. I'm having a meeting at work yesterday, and we go outside. If it's a nice day, you know, we have you know, picnic tables and stuff. So I'm like, hey, let's have our meeting outside. You know, it's a nice day, right?
We do that sometimes, but we've pretty much canceled that for the next few weeks because people are freaked out.
Well, anyways, we're sitting there. Now I'm sitting there with two girls that I work with, and I'm going over the agenda. I'm reading, and all of a sudden one of them jumps up and she's like, spider, right? So anyways, I look over and there's a spider, and I mean, I'm not talking like an anaconda or anything. It's like, you know, a little like tiny, like a pinhead, you know, pinpoint, it. So The other girl looks, oh, where? She sees it, and like just instinctively, she just karate chops and like one of those jujitsu, like, like action figures.
I imagine it being like on a brick on two cinder blocks, and she chops it, and then like the brick breaks.
But between that, like the instant reaction and like she's like, ah, spider, and then she looked over, and then just like her hand went up, and she was just like, bah, and then she did, and that was it. And I'm like, what just happened right now? So let me just say, it's like, and I mean, let's just, the spider's probably harmless, right? I mean, that spider, I mean, if it
Oh
crawled
yeah.
on you, you probably wouldn't have even known if nobody said anything. But some people,
Mhm.
myself included, right, are just grossed out at the thought of bugs, even if they're harmless or they don't bite or sting or
Yep.
anything like that. Like me just seeing that, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know why. I know my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are both terrified of bugs, which is funny because 'cause they're, like, outdoorsy, they go camping all the time, and them and their kids are like, they see a bug and they're like, "Ah!" And I'm like, "Aren't you guys going camping all the time?" Like, how do you deal with a camping trip? You're in your own backyard and you see a fly, like, if they see a fly or if a fly gets in the house, forget it. They're just like, "Ah, fly!" It's just a fly, who
it's like,
cares?
how do you people go camping?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but
Oh, that's too
it's funny. Yeah,
funny.
for some reason, it doesn't bother. I think it's because the cicadas too are super slow. They're basically like dying or molting, so they just like kind of every so often you'll see one sort of flying. It looks like like he's coming home at 6 in the morning from a bender, just like really low to the ground, slow, weaving back and forth. But
Oh.
most of them are just like kind of crawling on the ground, like like they all they're so unthreatening or non-threatening because they just all look like they're about to die.
Oh, that's too funny.
But anyway, that's your bug update from the Deep Purple podcast. The Bug Podcast coming soon.
Bugcast,
Bugcast.
cicada
Um,
cast.
all right, so hey folks, the Deep Purple podcast is 100% listener supported and ad-free. So if you receive some value from our show and our updates on regional bug issues, then consider giving us some value back from the value you receive. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That won't cost you anything. Merch at our Etsy store will cost you something. I keep threatening to close it or put stuff on sale, and I do neither, so it's just kind of sitting there. Become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. You can help support the show. All the money goes back into the show. We buy supplies, we buy albums to review, we buy concert tickets, you name it. And then you can also donate on Cash App at $DPPOD or support us on Ko-fi. But speaking of patrons, heyo,
Heyo.
old school sound effect.
Yeah.
We have a new patron. And that patron is known as, coming in at the $1 silly made up name tier, is going to be known as Jelly Bean. So, Jelly Bean responds, I'll go by Jelly Bean, my nickname when I discovered the band.
Oh,
It
okay.
says it would have been around 1971 when I was 11. Was visiting kids next door, a couple years older than me. They were playing this wild music, Purple's eponymous third album. Hooked. That organ, you didn't hear that sort of thing on the single radio station in our small rural town. I should mention he's from Victoria, Australia.
Oh.
Says I was learning organ at the time and wondered why I couldn't make such sounds. Yeah, exactly. I remember my cousin had one of those little, like, those organs that just pushed out the air. It
Yeah.
basically almost sounded like a harmonica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't sound like John Lord. It sounds like an accordion, basically. Says that they dubbed me a copy and I played it so much I wrecked it. So I went and bought a real copy. Saw a bunch of other Purple cassettes there, and a few weeks later, and got the new release, Burn. So good. Still my favorite Purple album. I remember telling another neighbor, Deep Purple are releasing a new album today. Stormbringer. Off I go to the music shop again. I didn't have a lot of cash, so I bought a few cassettes in those days. It would have taken months to save up for one. Sometime after that, I was listening to music with my cousin. He says, what do you think of this song? Didn't know the song, but all I knew was Ritchie's playing. I was told it was something called Black Knight, so I went from Mark 1 to Mark 3 and 4 and not heard Mark 2. And he goes back to the music store, picks up a cassette called 24 Karat Purple. So it's amazing how everyone takes their own
Wow.
circuitous routes in discovering the band. He says, eventually I got a job and a record player, started buying back catalog on vinyl, and the older stuff went in reverse order. Who do you think we are? Then Machine Head, Fireball, in rock, thinking these guys are getting better. Favorite band then and now over 40 years later, and Burn is still the best. I got to see the band only once, their 1984 comeback tour. That would have been great.
Wow.
December 4th in Melbourne. So loud, so amazing. Then I lost track of the band, moving around the country for work and life stuff. Thanks to the podcast, which I've been listening to this year, I have listened and learned about the extended family. Thanks heaps to Nate and John for the shop. Glad to be a supporter. Cheers, Jelly Bean.
Yeah, Jelly Bean.
Welcome, Jelly Bean. I feel like there's like a Jelly Bean soundbite in there somewhere. Like I don't know why I'm thinking about Jelly Bean.
I have a friend whose cat is named Jelly Bean.
It's a good name. It's a good name for a cat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So speaking of patrons, we'll thank some more at our executive level at the In Memoriam tier, the wonderful late Gerald, Jerry, Kelly, and family. At the $25 Uncommon Man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi and Purple Maniac. At the 15 Squid tier, we have Alan. At the 10-pound Good Doctor tier, we have Dictor Mike Kitane.
Oh boy.
Dieter Mook Katane, thank you. At the Turn It Up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Mikkel Steen, Will Porter, PhDPP, and Michael, don't call him Bradford Bagford. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans, and Peter from Illinois. And at the Hughes Oween by 2033 tier, Fielding Fowler. Hughes Oween is just a few months away. What are we gonna do this year?
Wow. I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Upcoming shows and listener meetups. Blackmore's night, 2 dates, the 29th and the 30th. John will be at the 30th show in Northampton, Massachusetts at the Academy of Music. Rich will be at both shows, Blackmore's night. So please make sure to check out one of those shows. I did get a message from somebody. Was it an email? Oh yeah, I think I got an email from somebody just this morning. Where is it? Named Dana. August 15th.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Yes. Dana's gonna be at the she says, I am the lady starstruck and I have bad luck. If you are putting together a list of DPP listeners for this show in Tampa on August 15th at the Hard Rock Casino, please count the lady in. Love the show. So actually haven't responded to the email yet, so I'll do that after the show. So thank you, Dana.
Okay.
If anyone wants to meet up with another listener, Dana will be there. I don't know if Zool will be, but Dana will be. Yeah, and that's all we got for kind of upcoming shows. I guess we should probably put on the calendar that we are going to see. I'm trying to work out the Detroit thing, but we'll definitely be at the Chicago show on the 23rd. So
Yeah, you better hurry up because Rich is going to pull the trigger without you.
I'm sure he already has.
Well, the other night he said he
He's
was
usually
going
like,
to. I don't know if he has.
He's like,
yet.
hey guys, we got the show just got announced. Are you guys gonna go? And then we don't respond for 15 minutes. He's like, all right, I couldn't wait, so I bought tickets. So you guys are on your own. I was like,
I mean,
man,
that's pretty accurate. But,
I haven't even looked. It's tough. That one's probably a little easier because the kids will be back at school by that point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
see.
I just need to know. I mean, I'll obviously be in touch with him, but whatever he's doing, it's our travel plans. I want them to kind of like coincide because we'll most likely be traveling and lodging together. So
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's like a bad time for me because I'm just getting back from. Well, I'll be out there in Rhode Island, so I'll just gonna be getting back from there. So I got to figure some stuff out. Well, I'll let everybody know. But hey, a couple more housekeeping things. Our upcoming rankings show. If you are a patron and you want to be on the live stream and also submit your rankings and comments, Deep Purple, the eponymous third album. We need your rankings by July 21st. We got plenty of time. So send those in, fill out the form. And if you want to be on that show or want to become a patron, sign up. and send us your rankings, and we'll get them on the spreadsheet. And should be a real. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then after that too, we're going to be busting into the Mark II stuff. So I'm sure we're going to get a few of the patrons who haven't submitted rankings will start submitting as soon as we get to Mark II. I think some people are just kind of like, oh, well, we'll see. And then, yeah, check out deepdivepodcastnetwork.com for a lot of our wonderful friends and their wonderful shows about bands just like ours. All right. So here we are, John. We've already covered Holy Diver some time ago, earlier in the year or late last year. I can't remember. But here we are, the second Dio album, The Last in Line. What are your thoughts on this one, or what's your history with this one, I should say?
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a surprise, right? I love an album from my childhood.
Eh. You big jerk.
No, but this one is no, this one is another great one. I would say between, like, I know that this one has Holy Diver. This one has Last in Line on it. So it was this whole second album is where Dio really exploded as a solo artist. But it's really always been a toss up for me between this and Holy Diver, which is the better album. I feel the better production is on the first album. I always thought that the production on this album sounded kind of I don't want to say thin, but there was always something about it that didn't sit right with me. Like it sounded like kind of like I always felt it could have been produced better.
Like a
Um,
little less, even though it's the second album. Yeah, it feels like it has like a little less polish.
yeah, but I mean, that doesn't take away from how great it is. Like, I mean, I wore this cassette out, because I,
Mhm.
had this when I was a teenager, was really into the Dio solo stuff. And I was watching a lot of that. I had the VHS for Special from the Spectrum, where he, like, I believe it
Mm.
was on this tour. Um, that he was touring behind this album at the Spectrum in Philly, I think it was.
Mhm.
And I think it was 84, but it was this lineup and they were doing
Yep.
all these songs, Holy Diver songs, I think some Sabbath stuff. So I mean, I was really like deep into it. I mean, I loved Dio as much as I do now, but I mean, I thought that this album was like fantastic. Despite that was always a little thing in the back of my head was just like, the production sound, it's got this like, I don't even want to say it sounds bad or it could have been better. Like, let's just say it has a distinct sound to it.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, that, like I said, doesn't take away from what how I think how good the song is and the performances are. So
So it says a special from the Spectrum, the second video album by American heavy metal band Dio.
mhm.
Second video album. I guess there's one called Live in Concert,
Hmm.
which is also from 1984. So
I don't know if I saw that one. I know the special from the Spectrum VHS, which I still have a copy of.
nice.
I kept all those things that I picked up from like the music stores or wherever I got them from. Like I still have those VHS. I'll never get rid of them.
There's another one too from '86 with Craig Goldie. I know there's also at the Spectrum that I've seen. So like, yeah, there's something about the Spectrum and Dio.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe he's just a big Flyers fan. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like. I think my cousin Jeff. I feel weird calling him my cousin Jeff to you because you know who I'm talking about when I say Jeff. But for the
Yeah.
listeners
Yeah.
who
We
haven't
know.
heard me opine about my cousin Jeff, who lived next door to me for a good part of my childhood and not too far away before that. But we discovered a lot of music together, and he went to school with John, and so you guys, that's how I met you through Jeff. So I want to say he had this one too, but I know I talked on our Holy Diver episode about how he had that album and just like the sheer audacity of the cover and just how shocking it was growing up in our little
Hmm.
Catholic town to see a
Hmm.
priest. But as Dio explained, who knows? Maybe the evil monster with horns is the good guy. Maybe the priest did bad things. Maybe.
Yeah.
Um this cover is not as audacious, but it is as kind of scary, and I guess we'll get to that in a
Mhm.
minute. So we have the same, yeah. So I don't have as much of a recollect, like I know, like hearing this one and everything, but like it was one of those things where the music was on in the background, and I don't know if at the time even knew what was Holy Diver, what was Black Sabbath, and what was this album. But
Mhm.
past this album, I don't know that Jeff had any of the more recent ones. So yeah, I'm not definitely not as well versed in it as you are, but I'm familiar with the album as I've listened to it, you know, a good number of times. Um, this album features the same lineup from the previous album, but the introduction of Claude Schnell on keyboards. And I reached out to Claude actually. I texted him the other day because we were getting ready for this album, and it came back that his number had changed. So I sent
Oh,
him an email, and I haven't heard back. So I hope he's okay. But we had him on the show years and years ago. We did an interview with him and had a couple of long phone conversations with him before and after and leading up to it. And he's quite a character. So check out our bonus episode interview with Claude. Great insight into the band, very well spoken, and um, yeah, great musician. So yeah, hopefully I'll hear back from him and get some. I would like to get some insight from him into the albums, but hope he's doing okay. Um, so on a technical level, again, this was produced by Ronnie James Dio, but it was recorded at Caribou Ranch, a recording studio owned by producer James William Guercio. Um, it was a converted barn on a ranch property in the Rocky Mountains near Nederland, Colorado, that leads to the ghost town of Caribou. So, not,
ooh.
ew, it's still spooky, not spooky in the way that most Dio stuff is, but um, the studio wasn't in operation until it was damaged in a fire in March of 1985. So this will probably be one of the last things recorded there. Engineer, we have Angelo Arcuri on Holy Diver, which we have a few sound clips of Dio talking about him and one of the songs being about him. Engineer Rich Markowitz, who had previously worked with Al Di Meola, which is a very different,
That is strange.
a different, funny thing to lead up to Dio. Then he
Yeah.
went on to work on Michael Jackson's album Bad after this.
Hmm.
Imagine that. So quite the
Varied career
yes.
there, varied path that he's taken.
Yeah, but so he must know what he's doing. And interestingly, I don't usually get into who mastered the album, but George Marino, who had previously mastered the Beatles single for Hey Jude. And this guy is a mastering legend. He's like 3,000 credits on Discog. So
Hmm.
I saw that Hey Jude connection. I was like, that's kind of interesting because I'm sure that the Beatles at that point were not giving those jobs to any hacks. Art direction. Well, I guess we should get into the album cover.
Mhm.
Let's share that with you as we talked about
There it is.
I mean, look at that. So I guess we should just kind of discuss this
Oof.
cover. And let me just put it in everybody's so it's at the top of everybody's mind. Um who's to say that's not the good guy?
Yeah, just presiding over a bunch of slaves, or people just toiling in the post-apocalyptic universe here.
Yeah, I mean, he could be the good guy.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. Maybe all those people suffering were the bad guys. And the big giant 400-foot demon on chains is the good guy.
Well, he's in chains, so maybe he's.
Yeah.
You don't know.
They were imprisoning that poor demon. Poor
That
Murray.
poor muscular, probably very powerful demon.
Yeah, I mean, he just
Um,
wants to be loved. All any of us want is to be loved, John, and that's all Murray wants.
well, this is probably the first that I've like analyzed this cover and even seen it blown up. Like, I don't know if I've even seen like, I mean, I've probably seen a CD copy of it, but I mean, I don't know if I've like really ever seen, or it's been a while since I've seen a vinyl
Mm.
copy. So, um I'll comment on I mean, I always thought it was a cool album cover, but seeing it right now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I've never seen before.
Mhm.
Um, well, first of all, the colors are fantastic. I mean, you have all of the colors in the warm spectrum, which is fantastic. You know, it gives that really that hot lava, you know, like in
Mhm.
hell, you know, just that kind of like that
Or heaven, we don't know.
or oh boy. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean,
Sorry, I'll stop.
heaven could be warm, but it's but yeah, it's kind of got that lava, you know, very very hot. Like it sets the atmosphere for this portrait here. The logo looks fantastic. I never noticed how kind of like textured it is.
Yeah, I
Um,
too, and I think it's because we had this on cassette. So, I mean,
yeah,
it was so small, and it was probably I can't remember if it was, like, the zoom in sort of thing or if they
yeah.
made the square extra small, but it's so tiny, and I don't think I ever noticed, like, how hand painted that Dio logo looks.
Yeah. And the last in line in a very contrasting blue color to the everything else. But you have Murray presiding over what just looks like this, like I said, a post-apocalyptic world of people toiling and suffering. Um, and it's funny because a couple of things I didn't notice is like you got this guy down here, like on the bottom left, who's just like he's looking to the left and he's like, "Hey, get a load of this guy." You know, like he looks like he's
He
right
does
off
look
the boat from the motherland. He's like, "Hey, get a load of this gavone." You know,
he does, he totally looks like, "Hey, can you believe this guy? Some nerve."
"Hey, can you believe this Spock-owned Vinny? Come here." But then, like right down the middle, you got this other guy who looks like he's bending over backwards, just like
Yeah, yep, yep.
you know, he's like screaming. And then all the way up to the top right, it looks like there's I don't know, like some kind of it looks like the somebody is sitting in profile holding like a rose or like a bayonet or something
It
like
looked
that,
to me like, as I zoom in a little here, it looks almost like,
kind of a demon or
a
something.
demon, like he's kinda laughing, but it looks like he's got an arrow in him, and that's, like, the back end of the arrow,
Ah, okay, yep.
but he looks kind of okay with it, so maybe it's he doesn't look too bothered.
But there's something about this. I just noticed for the first time kind of the two moons setting in the background. The smaller one on the left and the bigger one on the right are the two planets in the background.
Yep.
But then like the kind of the structures around there kind of look like this. It's weird because it's got this because the way that the album is, I guess like the themes on and everything almost feels like it's from like some time in the past,
Yeah.
but also it has this futuristic thing about it. Like if you know, you talk about the last in line video, it looks very like futuristic. And even this looks very like kind of almost supposed to be futuristic or like machine like it doesn't look like I feel like it would have had like, you know, like a brick structure or pyramid looking things around it if it were supposed to be something in the past. But this to me looks like it's supposed to be kind of like 1984's version of the future, kind of like Terminator or, you know,
Yeah.
thing
Yep.
or, you know, things like that. Which I think is interesting because I know that like going forward, like when Ronnie was talking about like angry machines and stuff, he's just like, oh, all this futuristic type of stuff. And it's like I feel like he was still kind of like had his hand in that in this album and then he was kind of putting it down like several years later
Mhm.
although maybe you know the theme you know maybe had taken that theme a little bit further um but yeah this kind of has like a past and future kind of feel to it um definitely a lot going on here but I just think it's an ultimate metal album cover for like so many reasons. It has all those themes in it that a great rock or metal album cover should have in it.
Yeah, it's hard to get much more metal than this, but yeah, I think I always thought that those buildings in the foreground were more like stone, but they look more metallic looking at it in this detail. And then the guy that looks that's next to the Gavone down there on the left, is he's got like a bird head and beak.
Yeah.
So it almost looks like there's like these like weird aliens or bird people that are like Murray is coming at them, but they're coming at them from the other way. And in the foreground right here, it looks like there's one of them like with his elbows, he's like propping himself or pulling himself up by his
Oh, right.
with
Okay.
his hands like he's ready to launch at them too. So it look it doesn't look good for these people, whoever they are.
No, no. And
And
then
one of those
below,
guys who might be a bird person has like the kind of like the bandoliers going across, like it looks
mm,
like an ancient Egyptian sort of thing, which would make sense with some of the album content.
and then below Murray, you have just, it looks like, suggests like masses of people just
Yeah,
kind of like underneath him, just kind of extending as far as you can see. Um,
into his fiery crotch. I
which
can't
takes
you can't tell
takes
if they're
it
if they're
further.
like
And
like if he's coming towards them or if they're his like foot soldiers coming towards us, like you don't know for sure.
I don't know. I feel like with the the devil horns kind of extended out like that, the motion that he's doing, it almost looks like he's beckoning
Oh yeah.
the people to him. Or you could take it as is that he is like kind of doing that and kind of banishing them away from him, or he's like, you know, what he's doing with that is like a powerful pose that is kind of making like that guy in the middle being like, ah, it burns. You know, like,
Tastes like burning. I didn't even notice he was doing the devil. He's got the look on like both
yeah.
hands there. He's yeah, great. Yeah, pretty great album cover. Just one that you could. I feel like you could look at this just, and I'm sure many people did, especially if they had the vinyl. You could just study this album cover through the entire album because
Oh yeah.
it's just there's so much going on. I love album covers like this that you can just stare at for an hour and still kind of pick up on new things. But
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool
I think
stuff.
it's one of his most classic album covers, and like arguably one of the most kind of involved, like, of all of his album covers. Like, you could look at this one more than any other one and just kind of like pick up the different nuances and look at all the different characters and just kind of wonder what's happening.
It's kind of reminiscent of Mob Rules too, and like just
Mm,
the grimness of it and the weirdness of the characters.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, this was art direction by Steve Gertis, who had worked for the enemy band of Deep Purple fans, Depeche Mode, which we talk about a lot in the Discord because
Boo.
they were always when we were looking for Deep Purple, their Depeche Mode was always getting in the way. He also worked on the Black Sabbath Seventh Star, which has a very different look from this, and a
Hmm.
Rough Cut, which makes sense with the addition of Claude Schnell, who is in the band Rough Cut, which is also managed by Wendy Dio. On the inside of the album, photography by Gene Kirkland, um, who worked with, he did a lot of photography for Wasp, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, and also Neil Zlazauer, who just released this book. Well, I don't know if he just released it, but he released this book of great Eddie Van Halen pictures that he took. So he
Mm.
must have toured with them and been a photographer for them as well. And the illustrations on that by Barry Jackson.
Are there
Um,
any more like pictures? Like, do you have gatefold or anything for that
I
album? Or
don't seem to have it, and I thought there was
because I'd
something.
never really seen anything else from that
No,
album. Because, like I said, I always had the cassette version, and I don't even know if I owned the CD version. I might have gone I'm trying to think about how I would go from cassette right to streaming. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
But
I don't think I ever had it at all because it was one of those things when your cousin and slash next door neighbor has it. Why would you
yeah.
buy it when you could just borrow it? You know,
But
you
I
kind
don't
of
know that I've ever seen any of like the a gatefold or band photos from this, if there were any.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, but
Hmm.
I need to. I couldn't find much, and like just I'll take a peek while we're listening. But um, the guy who did the illustration also did the cover of the Neil Young album Trans, which I thought was really interesting because that's an album that actually Rye got me into.
Hmm.
And for some reason, I think he must have got me into it this time of year. So like this time of year when I go outside and grill and we have a drink outside, like I always listen to that Neil Young album. And if you see the cover of that album, it's like this kind of like squared off futuristic looking car driving through like driving with these headlights, and it's a lot of perspective, and it's like a really cool album cover, but the colors are very similar to this album, so you can see where he would have uh how those two albums could be linked, even though it's a very different album and a very different album cover. um yeah, but that's kind of the information we have on this. Before we get into the tracks, I will jump in and thank our next level of patrons, which of course is the core level. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the $6.99 new nice price tier, we have Spike the Rock Cat and Sugar Tea. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell and Arthur Smith. Getting support from the patron Arthur Smith. Anton Glaving and Charles Meadows. At the $6.65 tier, the Almost Evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Richie Sucksmith. At the $6 What's Going On Here tier, we have Richard Fusey. At the $5.99 The Nice Price tier, Robert Smith and Carl Helberg. At the 60 kroner Scandinavian Nights tier, we have Newt Morton Johansson. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikov, Kev Roberts, Percival Frequency, Scott Zern, Cynthia Doobie, Raf Calf, Coyote Bongwater, and John Maselli.
Well, thank you, Carl Sagan.
So if you got anything, any other stuff you want to know about this album, check out Ronnie James Dio, A Biography of a Heavy Metal Icon by James Curl, who we once upon a time had on the show as well. Great guy. And you can also check out the more recent book, Rainbow in the Dark, the Ronnie James Dio autobiography. So you can look through there and find out some more information on this era of the album. And with that, are we ready to get into the tracks? All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do that. Oh, you know what? I got to just fix my audio thing here, and then we'll be good to go. All right, here we go. First track up, We Rock. So I think when you hear that, you're like, oh, this is delivering on the promise of that album cover.
Yeah.
It's that bass drum.
Yeah, great opening by way Vinny Appice cuts in there with those that drum intro.
Damn.
Now I gotta say, this version right now in the headphones is sounding really great.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's like this really like metal song, but like We Rock sounds like it doesn't sound like it sounds like it matches the cover, but it sounds like it's more like a song about rock and roll.
Yeah.
This is a solo composition by Dio. Wow, that was.
Yeah, his fills in this are kind of nutty. But I mean, all that, like, I mean, the bass, guitar, drums, Ronnie, they're all separated out very well. They sound great. Backup vocals here are kind of different for him. And I feel like this is him trying to like also establish, kind of like on the first album, Stand Up and Shout, kind of that kind of like gang chorus, like raise your fist anthem, you know, that you could open the show with type of thing.
And like the first album, it's a real statement of like, just in case you don't think I can be the guy in the band, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Nice panning on those toms too. Very inventive drum fills so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know he's a killer drummer, but the way he's doing it is just amazing. And a great solo, of course. Nice.
Love how he draws out this last pre-chorus. Just really creates that build-up.
Yeah, tension. Ooh, that little high bass.
Burn, 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 burn.
Just rhythmically very, very interesting what they're doing with both the drums and the bass here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. An opening statement from the band for sure. All right, John, what do you think of We Rock?
I mean, that one's a classic opener 5.
Right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
yeah, I pretty much said everything during the song. It's like, I mean, what a fantastic song! Great way to open the album. Great kind of second statement song for Dio.
left no rock unturned.
Yeah, yeah, and I
I
mean,
will
performances were great. Writing was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 as well. Just the raw energy of it is just, you can't fake that level of just energy and enthusiasm and everything, and everyone is playing like like their lives are on the line. Like if they don't rock hard enough, Murray is gonna get them from the cover. Like that,
Yeah, right.
like the Tenacious D video where they have to beat the devil and
Yeah.
and write a better song or they'll die. But yeah, amazing stuff. Great track. Next track up is the titular, the last in line. Probably not what one would be expecting to follow up that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you got these Claude Schnell's real introduction on this song.
Yeah, it just really thickens up the riff.
and of the time synths, but I think they work really well.
Yeah, because they're mixed in like beautifully with the guitar part.
Man,
Here's the part. Ah, that's great.
a little dive bomb.
Oh, he just lays on that friggin' whammy bar. That was Jeff's favorite part of the video, where he go down like that.
the Maluks pointing
Yeah.
down.
He loved mimicking that. Like every time it came on.
I can see it.
And I mean, let's not forget about the bass line here. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's
Sadly,
just,
Jeff has declined several invitations to be on the show.
oh well.
He's an elusive. We used to call him Mysterio.
I can see why. I told you about the story about when he was like, he told me that there were a bunch of rappers outside my door.
What? No.
And at the time, he meant rappers like, rap guys.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, and we're at my house. I'm like, what's he talking about? I opened up the door and there were a bunch of candy wrappers that he just like strewned about.
Sounds like something he would do.
Yeah. It's like ridiculous.
Bunch of rap. You just see like these. Especially where you grew up, it'll be all these white guys with spiky hair.
And I like this song too. There's like room to breathe too. It's not always filled up with notes and music.
And this is a real nice contrast to the first song, where it's obviously very heavy, but yeah, his guitar solo's got all this, it really takes center stage. That synth I could hear like straight off of Perfect Strangers too.
Yeah. And then here he fills in a little bit more. They fill in the music a little bit more. It's another way that he just kind of like, see this pre-chorus here, he just kind of like, he kind of changes the last verse, the last pre-chorus to kind of like build up that tension, just kind of like he did on the first track.
Yep.
It's not just a straight A, B, A, B.
Yeah, great arrangement so far on this album.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so far trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody in 1984 who'd been following Dio through Rainbow and through Sabbath. I can't imagine plunking down your money on this and not feeling like you're getting what you expected. Like, this is just...
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, he's already invoking angels and devils and witches, and I mean, we're only 2 songs in.
And I mean, really, if you were somebody that followed Ronnie, say from the early 70s all the way to now, consistently, like, this shouldn't have been a surprise at all, because he went from like Elf, early Rainbow, was it Rainbow Rising, Sabbath. It was like his progression just got heavier and heavier.
Yep. Absolutely.
Which is really interesting, because if you think about it, Ronnie really kind of followed certain trends in music. Like he wasn't following like the most popular trends. Like he didn't, release a disco album, but it's just,
But if he did, Mark and Pete will find it and we'll be reviewing it shortly.
the Ronnie Dio disco album will have him like a big like moo moo and like
Boo, boo.
heaven and hell. Boo!
Yeah, Dio is only missing a couple letters to be disco, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has somebody made the Dio logo. It says disco.
Oh, well, there you go. There's something that we could plop into AI one day and see what happens.
AI doesn't do so good with letters. Whenever they like
Uh,
put words up, you're like, yeah, I know those letters, but that's not a word. It's too
but
many consonants.
but my point being is that he did that kind of like that 50s 60s type of rockabilly
Right.
stuff, the elf stuff, the early 70s, and then his progression kind of got heavier. So I think he kind of saw what was on the horizon and really helped invent it too. Is it like as he was getting heavier and like the more complex song arrangements, he was evolving, and it was just very natural. So I think that if you were following him along, this evolution wouldn't have seemed out of place because I mean, first of all, his songs are killer, and second of all, his voice just fits all of this stuff like so perfectly. Like
Yeah.
the beginning where it's kind of like, oh, this is a ballad
Yeah.
into the heavier stuff where he's just really belting it out. So
I mean, he's just. I mean, so much has been said about it already, but he's such a revered. He's like a god almost, and maybe it's because he passed. He didn't, he didn't die super young, too young for sure. Um, but he's got godlike status, and I think besides him in the heavy metal realm, maybe only Iommi and Ozzy, I think would have that same level of just sheer reverence towards what they brought to metal. And funny enough, they all three of them were from the same band,
And I mean,
essentially.
I would even say that like I would argue that because I mean, I feel like very lucky to have been a Dio fan for so long while he was alive. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he always had that. I don't think he just achieved that status after he passed away. I
No,
think
no,
that
not at all.
because I mean, I felt that way about him when he was alive. Like I mean, I probably discovered this stuff in the early 90s, and I was just thinking like I would just always remember thinking like, my God, like this guy is like fantastic. Like he's like that, kind of like God godlike status. Like I would like worshipped like, the ground he walked on as far as his music, his vocals. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, hard to touch. Um, all right, so I think I didn't mention, where is it? Yeah, so this one was released. This was written by Dio, Bain, and Campbell. It was
Mhm.
released as a single. It hit number 10 in the US mainstream rock
Wow.
charts. It was
Wow.
Dio's only song to hit top 10, so this was kind of the peak for Dio.
Hmm.
But for something, even though it's hard rock charts, this is a pretty friggin' heavy song to be
Yeah.
charting at all.
Yeah.
Um, so pretty amazing. All right, what do you give this one?
Oh, this is another five easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is I mean, obviously is like one of his classic songs, title track. And it has so many things in it that are like Dio trademarks. The biggest one of all being that sense of calm that he has at the beginning of the song before he just like takes your head off with like the heavy riff coming in and him screaming home.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you got a great layering in there of the keyboards with the guitar not sounding cheesy at all. Um, um, strong vocals, of course, concept, great bass line. Like I always like especially toward the end of the song, I'm always like grooving towards a boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 which I mean, I think is another thing too, is like a lot of these bass lines that, and I don't know who came up with it, him, Jimmy Bain, Geezer Butler, and like Heaven and Hell, or
Mhm.
actually, no, that bass line, didn't they say that, I don't know, Bill Ward or Jeff Nichols or somebody came up with it.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Regardless, like Ronnie being involved in all this stuff, there are some really like noticeable or recognizable baseline things that are just very, they're not complicated, but they really, you can latch on to them. Like, I mean, think of Heaven and Hell. It's just dun, 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 right? And you have like Holy Diver,
Yeah.
and then this
Yeah.
you have, you know, it's like there's just these little things that you know, he's associated with it, whether he actually wrote them or not. I just think that it was like him being part of it is, um, you know, it's just one of the kind of trademarks of you know, the songs that he was involved with. But yeah, this is another great one. The only thing that I don't like about it is the music video, which I've said before, is music videos were horrendous. Like,
I know. We should probably do a whole episode on just his music, like his early music videos.
yeah, they were just I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they were meant to be comical.
Well, videos back then just weren't that good. Like they had a few gems, but for the most part, videos were pretty cheesy. And I think his vision for what he wanted to do with all this crazy stuff, like the budget just, I don't think was there. So it just ends up looking kind of comical and silly where he's holding a sword or, you know,
Well,
whatever it is. It's
well,
just
I
kind of,
think a lot of his early videos were like concept videos. They weren't really performance as much.
yeah.
And when they were, the one thing that and I won't spend too much time on it, but the one thing that I really disliked about it is that he was featured in it, and like all of like the actors like acting out the story, and then you would either get like one frame of like, you know,
Like you
Vivian Campbell or like Jimmy Bain or something, or nothing at all. Like the
like you
band was not
said,
involved at
was it the
all.
Holy Diver video where Jimmy Bain just like walks out of a door for like you see him for like a split second?
Yeah, it's just like he just comes out of the door and that's it.
And then it's like,
Like,
I hope you had enough Jimmy Bain. You're not seeing him anymore.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, I hope you like that Jimmy Bain fix because that's all you're getting, motherfucker.
You got to keep him wanting more.
But it was almost like toward the end, they would show them a lot toward the end of the video if they showed them at all, just to be like, oh yeah, and by the way, he has a band. And then that,
You might be interested to know that he has a band. Are your neighbors upstairs doing something crazy?
oh, I see a bug or an
Oh,
ant, and now I don't. Now I'm like,
now John's freaking out. This
no,
is
you
the bug
just
episode.
no, go ahead. You just keep going.
He's looking up. Uh-oh, here. Oh no, here he goes. If we hear a loud smack, we'll know business is taken care of. I'm giving this one a 5 too. This is one of my favorite Dio songs. Always really loved what he did in this, and I like that kind of that little pump fake at the beginning of just sounds like oh, we're going into a nice ballad now, and then boom, just hits you with a really really killer metal track after that. So
Absolutely.
really good stuff. All right.
Yeah, I killed it, by the way. The problem is like I don't know where it landed somewhere, I think in the couch. So now I'm like, I'm gonna have
He's
to go
just
look.
looking back. He's just see. I wish we had a John only feed on the video so you could just see him nervously looking. He looks at the screen for about a half a second. He looking back. Where is it? Where did it go? Did I get it? Did it come back to life?
Yeah,
You never
that's the
know with
thing
flies. Sometimes you hit it and you think it's dead, but you actually just knocked it unconscious, and all of a sudden it's buzzing around again.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I put some real pressure
Well,
on
you
it
need
there.
to call
So
that woman you work with for a judo chop. Say, are you free right now? Do you need me to come into work? No, I need you to come to my house and karate chop a
karate
freaking
chop my
fly.
ceiling. Thanks a lot.
All right. Next track up is a song called Breathless. Doesn't sound breathless. Sounds breathful. Kind of scary, very creepy. It's like you're glad when the music starts because you're like, this is creeping me out. That's so awesome. I wish I had an isolated track of the no. He's doing that little descending line on the guitar, like just dropping the bass note for the chord down.
Yeah. Yeah, song's got kind of a groove to it.
And like what Bane's doing, he's like dom dom dom. He's just hitting it, like you said, very simple. He's just hitting like the fifth in the octave, but
Yeah,
it works perfect. Just
it stands out.
Nice.
Oof.
That was a killer
Precision.
solo. Campbell's just got all guns blazing on this one. And he was so young. Wasn't he like
21, 22?
Yeah, like I want to say he was like 19 or something when he joined.
Yeah, he was not an old man.
I mean, have you seen him lately? He still looks great. He's got that Def Leppard money, though. He could probably put a little of it into some Botox or whatever, but he's looking fantastic.
Some sea salt facials.
I can just picture him and Joe Elliott with the cucumbers on their eyes. And...
Joe Elliott not looking that bad either, although he's got to ditch that, like, you know, long white grandma haircut.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that whole Coverdale thing going on. It's just like
the cool auntie look.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he would have been 22.
Oh, see, 22. I was good.
I don't know. He would have been 21, actually. Yeah, he wouldn't have turned 22 yet. Crazy.
It's another thing that Dio does too is like he'll do that do that kind of like, you know, improvising and scatting like while there's the fade out. You know, we can, you know, he just makes shit up.
Yeah, he always just like, you know, riffs on whatever the name of the song is.
Yeah, it's just kind of like
you're
that.
Lacking breath. You're taking the test, and you don't got no breath left.
I mean, it's kind of like what we saw on the you know, the end of Love Is All, you know, when your back's against the wall. Right. It's like, except now it fits in.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Breathless. What do you think, John?
So I'll give this one a 3.5. I thought it was pretty good, but it's never been one of my favorites. Never really a standout, but it still has a lot of like great elements in it. One thing that bothers me a little bit about this song, which I think is I think I kind of like put my finger on the, you know, production aspect of it, is it doesn't really seem to be the drums or the bass. It seems to be like the vocals and the guitar kind of have this kind of like high end kind of sound to it. Like it's not very beefy. It's like, if you like, the guitar solo was great, but it sounded like very like the tone was not very thick. Like it had a certain kind of like tone to it, but it almost sounded like it could have been beefed up a little bit more. You know what I mean?
I know we've encountered this before, and it's always kind of present where they have the songs where, and it could have been a record company decision and I know he talks in his book, and I love, let me see if I can find it in his book, very much in Dio's voice. You can read like all of his book, or you read it like you hear him saying it, but he's like, the clue is the second word of the name, record company. Here's another, music business, and he capitalizes those words. So, you know, you can hear his bitterness coming out already on the second album here, and that's actually in reference to this album. So sometimes they put the money in the production towards, okay, we think We Rock and Last in Line are going to be the singles. We're going to put a little more money into polishing those up, beefing those up, and the rest of the album tracks, we'll pull back a little on. It seems like you should be able to achieve that same thing, but sometimes just getting that extra attention to them makes them not punch quite as much.
But I mean, I don't know if and I mean it's definitely doesn't sound bad. I mean, I
Oh
think
no.
it's kind of like other albums that we've listened to that have a kind of distinct sound to it that you get used to over the years and it becomes part of the album. And you don't necessarily mind it or hate it or anything, but I think it would be interesting to hear like a remix of this album.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of similar to like hearing a remix of like Born Again or any other album where we're just kind of like, and that's an extreme example, but
Well,
like
they
where,
did like a super deluxe I don't know. I don't think it was probably a remix. It's probably a remaster, but the
yeah,
super deluxe of the first 3 albums came
yeah.
out like 10 years ago or something.
But I mean, I guess I wouldn't want anybody to touch this too much just because it's like it's so, sounds so distinctive, that
Mhm.
it's, then it would just change, the feel and the atmosphere of the whole thing. So, but those are just a couple of observations.
Yep. I'll give it a 3.5 as well. I really like it, and I think it's probably my favorite guitar solo on the album so far. Really inventive, great playing. I love how he just those little like staccato palm muted things, and
Mm,
just just I mean, it's not like I'm breaking any new ground here, but Vivian Gamble is a really good guitar player.
hmm.
News alert. But anyway, that's the third track on the first side of the album. If you're listening to the vinyl or I'm assuming it was the same on cassette. I don't remember. Um, and the next track up is called "I Speed at Night." Coming up, a little synth work there. Kind of sounded like getting tighter there at the beginning. Buzz, buzz. That little
Yeah.
beginning part.
No, I like this. Very high energy, fast tempo rocker. Which I mean, when you listen to the music, it just gives you that whole starting with the keyboard intro that just driving in a car being out of control.
Yeah. It just there's something about this song that's always been kind of funny to me. Like I speed at night because it's just like admitting like he does something dangerous. It's like the next track called "Sometimes I Jaywalk" or something. It's like admitting to a very minor crime. So like in contrast to the last song where he's doing those descending bass, this one he's like moving the middle notes up on the chords.
And he's just fluttering all over the place.
Yeah. Damn. This song
Very
is
frantic.
I could see how maybe like Megadeth took some cues from a song like this. Like it sounds kind of like Poison Was the Cure or Take No Prisoners or something where it's like this almost punky feel to the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also like I Hate the Light. It's just I don't know why this song amuses me. It reminds me of that scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure where he's with the guy. He's like, I took a knife He's like, you know those little tags on the pillows that say "Do not remove"? I cut it right off. Oh, that's cool. It started with that kind of it's kind of cool how it brings you into the song with that low rumbling oscillating synth that kind of comes up to speed and then gives you the song, and then after the song it picks up where it left off and goes like all the way to the maximum, like it starts with the minimum bassy low oscillation and then goes woo, like goes
Yeah.
off as if you're speeding into the night.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
John, what do you think of I Speed at Night?
Give this one 4.5.
All right.
This is this is one that I feel like I I slept on for a lot of years, but then I listened to it like, within the past several years more recently, and I'm just like, oh, this song is so good because it really does convey, like, if you just like don't even listen to the lyrics, which I couldn't now because
Because
you
I've
know
ruined them.
because you friggin' ruined it, is but I mean, the music itself just gives you this frantic feeling of just being in like a car or a locomotive or a vehicle
Mhm,
that's just like just going really fast or almost to the like the brink of being out of control. Like everything
mhm,
from the keyboard starting up at the beginning, which would be the engine revving up, to the music starting. The solo is just frantic.
mhm,
I mean, Vivian Campbell was just kind of like, I think he was just kind of, it sounded like he was just noodling on the guitar and just be like, all right, now I'm gonna go, he's just all over the fretboard, just like, all right, I just have to be as like out of control as possible. And yeah, I mean, it just, if you think about it, you close your eyes, you're like, yeah, this is like a song that you could just pop in the tape deck and just like floor it, down a dark highway,
mhm.
which I feel like that was kind of the intent of the song, because I mean, it's a I speed at night, and then like I said, the music just really kind of like, um, it kind of evokes that feeling. So, um, but yeah, I think you did ruin the lyrics because you're just like, I hate the light, and it's just like, it's like, turn it off, turn it off.
I can't speed when it's light. I need.
Somebody turns on the light, you're like, like
It's like
a
my
nerd.
kids in the morning.
But no, I think this is like a great, another great track. It's like it's great because I believe that I don't know, I don't know if it ends the side or not. Um
I, according to this, yeah, it should be the end of. I'm sorry, the next track is the end of side one.
oh, okay, yeah. So this is
Yep.
like the penultimate
The
ending track, but
the penultimate of the side, if
yeah, but
that's
I
a
mean,
thing.
it's definitely great. It like it picks things up and it kind of takes you into that realm. I love it.
Yep, I will give this one a 4. I like it as well. Really good track. Great energy, like the whole album so far. Yeah, good one. Okay, the next track will end the album, and this one is called "One Night in the City." Great riff.
No, I
Songs
love
about
it.
songs about you, Johnny.
Oh, that's me. I don't love like songs where they name off people.
I was just thinking that. It's always Johnny too.
Yeah. Well, this one had Sally.
Sneaking Sally through the alley.
Yes, I did.
With a little frantic kind of keyboard marimba going there.
It fits in though.
Yeah.
It's got this very like melodic, just a very melodic type of song. You know, I just kind of groove along to it. See, the guitar tone in this solo is very different from the rest of the album.
Yeah. I think it was a little
very out front.
Busy with the marimba and the guitar going at the same time.
Yeah, but it was achieved to a cool effect.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like one night, boom. It does that bass slide.
What are they saying? What is that?
You have like that demon voice going, one night.
Oh, just saying one night.
Yeah.
What kind of city is this?
Probably this city on
Yeah.
the album cover. It's gonna be a terrifying night.
that's a bad night right there.
Well, except for that, like, you know, the mafia guy down there.
Hey,
Vito, hey Vito, get a load of this guy.
Guy thinks he's a tough guy.
Come here. Oh.
All right. Well, there you go. One Night in the City. John, what do you think?
It's another good one. I'll give it a 3.5. It was definitely melodic. It definitely had some cool elements in it, but you know, again, not one of my favorites. Just definitely, you know, when I put this album on, I'll typically listen to like all of it, but there are songs on it that are more my favorites. So I don't know if I really ever turn any of it off, but you know, this is one that I think is pretty good. It's you know, it's solid, but it's not you know, not a favorite. But you know, just like any other song on this album, it's got some great elements in it. And I do like the fact that the, you know, guitar solo was kind of turned up a little bit. I like that it was something a little different in there. It sounded like it had a little delay on it. It's a little busy in the background with the, you know, the marimba keyboard effects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I always liked that kind of like I always thought that when he did like the low voice, like the one night, that was like Murray singing background.
He's got the headphones on. And he's got one headphone on. He's got the finger over the finger in the ear. One night, one night.
You got the guys in producers booth. Murray, can you give us one more take on that? All right, then can I break? Can we break for lunch?
Murray, you're a little flat. Ah, God damn it! How many takes do we gotta do?
But but
I
I
have
always
I have a lot of smiting planned this afternoon.
but I always felt like with all well, now I can't put all kidding aside, but I always felt that maybe that kind of like demon sounding voice was supposed to mimic like it was supposed to be Murray. You know what I mean? Like that
Mhm.
was the way I always pictured in my head.
Yeah,
Was is like maybe when Dio was doing those effects on those vocals and everything, that it was supposed to be like, yeah, that's like Murray on the album
yeah,
type of thing.
that makes sense. I will also give it a 3.5. I kind of feel the same way as you do. I think lyrically, like what you said, well, like I don't like when they just list names, and I'm like, I totally agree. That always like seems like a trope, but to me, it's like all this stuff about the dark and the light and the princess and the dark child, but your two characters are Johnny and Sally. Like that
Yeah,
sounds like a John Cougar Mellencamp song
yeah,
would have, you know what I mean? Like Sally, the princess named Sally. I don't know. Like shouldn't like if you're going for like these fantasy, elements, shouldn't it be like Guinevere or something? Like that Sally. Uh,
yeah.
but
No,
anyway, and a
yeah,
dark
yeah,
child named Johnny seems also kind of
yeah. But I mean,
you know.
that's like even if it wasn't played out at that time, it is like I think it's kind of a played out thing. I mean, you have like that. You have Johnny as being like the character of like so many of these songs. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't like because I think it makes it too specific too. If you start naming people, it kind of alienates everybody else.
Yeah, like in the later verse, it's the princess saw the dark child. Johnny was a dark child. It can be there was a dark child, and there was a princess, or I don't know, something. It just seems weird putting these um American names on them, where it just kind of sounds kind of weird, like
Hmm.
names of the day or whatever. But anyway, it's a minor nitpick, but um we are ready to flip over this album and go on to the first track on the second side, which is called Evil Eyes.
Love that.
Yeah, woo woo! It's got a very soaring, sort of positive sound to it.
Yeah.
Where he's doubling his voice on those first lines is kind of cool. Another invoking of rainbow. I think he did it on a previous track as well.
Yeah.
He did it on Breathless.
You got the fluttering keyboards over
Yeah,
in
on
the
the left channel
background.
there. Yes.
Ooh, those eyes.
That's great. Ooh, that was a really like metallic sounding bass.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of cool, like the bass is just plucking along on that one note and the chords just keep changing all around it.
Mm-hmm. Great ending. It's like a concert ending.
Yeah.
There was Murray. Whoa.
What happened to him? It's like they pushed him off a cliff or something. All right, Evil Eyes. What do you think, John?
Oh, I'm gonna give that one a 4.
All right.
Um, I think that yeah, that was really, yeah, there were a lot of great elements in it. I think another great solo, very kind of driving. Um, I think what did you call it? Like a soaring type of
Yeah, it seemed like more
yeah,
like trying. I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but just more of like more. I want to say upbeat, but that's kind of the wrong feel. It
as
just
as
it sounded
as
more
upbeat
positive,
as
like more
upbeat as Dio can
triumphant
get.
sounding.
Yeah, but I mean it's yeah, this one is another good one too. And I like the addition of the keyboards in these songs because even though the effects are kind of different,
Mhm.
but they all kind of sit nicely in the mix and they don't really distract from the music. They don't sound cheesy or
Yep.
really dated that much. They just really they fit in well. And so I really I like that. I love the ending too. I just thought it was this kind of great to use that word again, triumphant kind of sounding ending, concert ending, just instead of fading it out.
Yep. 100%. All right. I will
What did
give this one
you?
a 3.5. I
Oh,
liked
okay.
it. I liked it a lot. Some great ad-libbing vocals at the end, good fast pace song, kind of a like I said, a triumphant start um to the second side of the album. Um the next part of the album, next song is a song called Mystery. Oh yeah, I always remember this one. Makes me think of what is it? Baba O'Reilly.
Yeah, I always felt this one was kind of a poppy, like it could have been
Yeah.
released as a single. Yeah, it's very kind of a poppy sounding chorus. Not in a bad way. I
It's
like
very
it.
Baba O'Reilly sounding.
You mean Teenage Wasteland?
Yeah, sorry. I hate that song is called Baba O'Reilly. It always takes me a second to think of it because it doesn't make any sense to me. Sure, it does to a Who fan. Man. He's just not putting out any, there's no clunkers in this guitar solo
Nope.
collection on this album. All right. It's mystery, folks. John, what do you think of mystery? It's a mystery until you tell us.
Yes, it will be. I think it's a it's a great kind of poppy sounding tune. I'll give it a 3.5. I like it. It's really nothing I dislike about it. It's I don't know. I feel like maybe because Rainbow in the Dark had that kind of similar
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like bump 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 bump, that kind of
Mhm.
staccato almost type of keyboard or electric piano line or whatever, um, whatever the sound is in there, that it kind of fits in. You're like, all right, I could see Dio doing this. But when he was talking about Rainbow in the Dark being like, oh, Dio's a pop artist now, like I would feel like this would be more commercial sounding.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I would expect that you would hear this on the radio and be like, oh, this would have been his breakthrough hit just because it's got a really pleasant, accessible sounding kind of verse chorus to it. And I like it. I think it's
Yep.
good.
I agree 100%. 3.5 for me as well. Another absolutely great guitar solo, solid song, catchy. Nothing, can't say anything bad about it. Just to me, it's, just a little more run of the mill, but it's a really solid track. Okay. The next song up is called Eat Your Heart Out.
No, that's great. You don't hear a lot of songs on this album start off with a guitar riff.
Yeah.
And that's really heavy.
Nice. This is written by all four members.
Nice. Oh, Dio.
It's great. Well, you would
Like
think that
Coverdale come in for some guest lyric writing.
but you don't know because like normally you wouldn't know if they were being metaphorical, but based on the subject matter on this album and Murray, maybe they're talking about actually eating a heart, like in Temple of Doom.
Well, I also think that, like, you've been a bad, bad girl always kind of like hit my ear in a certain way too.
Yes.
Like,
oh, you bad. Oh, darling, you're a bad girl. yeah, they used the Coverdale Consulting Group for this one. That's a weird effect on the voice.
yeah. Sounds cool though.
Yeah, very cool. Really cool panning at the beginning there. Crazy. So this is like, do you remember when you first heard that Vivian Campbell was joining Def Leppard and you were like, what?
Yeah.
like, and this is all I
Yeah.
ever knew him from, so it was just so bizarre to me.
Yeah,
Still
just
is when I
like-
think about it.
Just like everybody else, I was just like, is he an idiot?
Yeah, and then
Well,
at my age now, I'm like, no, that's freaking genius.
yeah.
And he's not even the lead guitarist. That riff is really reminding me of something I can't think of right now.
That's it.
Spinning cages for her pleasure. I think it is about eating really eating somebody's heart.
Maybe.
They have them in those cages and in Temple. Maybe you just saw Temple of Doom. No, I don't think it came out yet. I think it came out like the next year. Maybe this song was the inspiration for Temple of Doom. I have it backwards. All right, John. What do you think of Eat Your Heart Out?
So yeah, I'll give that, whoa, geez. Not a -9. Where did that come from?
Wow, you liked it that much less than that Butthole Surfers song?
No, never. Could I have given a negative?
No, well, we didn't know you could give a 0 until I think you did on that one.
Well, I'll give this one a 4. I love this riff. I know, like, a lot of Dio songs, especially on this album, they don't start with a guitar riff. It'll be a drum intro or a keyboard intro or, like, something, even like Last in Line wasn't like a riff. It was him, like, picking out the notes of the softer part of the song. So it's like when I heard this, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is a bum 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 ba da na na. And yeah, I just think it was heavy. It was a good song. Even when he's just like singing the part, "You've been a bad, bad girl," it doesn't
So
sound out
eat
of
it out. That's another good one that we need an isolated track for.
it doesn't, yeah, we could use that for like a food segment.
Yeah, sure.
Or a
For the
Coverdale
food, we'll save
segment.
it for the food podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, there's not much that Dio can sing that to me sounds like it's going to be out of place.
No,
Um,
he's always
or yeah, his choices have
delivers.
always been intentional, I think. So yeah, I think that's a good one.
All right, I give it a 4 as well. I like this one. Really solid track, fun, great riffs, another great guitar solo. I don't think I've never heard anything by Vivian Campbell so far where I've been like, eh. It's always just great, melodic, inventive, dynamic, just like everything you're looking for in a guitar solo. And it doesn't, some guitar players have all that and have the style, but after a whole album of their guitar solos, you're like, okay, this again, it just feels like every solo is just crafted uniquely and it's almost like I don't know that I would even be able to pick out his style if I heard a solo on its own and say, oh, that's definitely Vivian Campbell. Partially because I don't know his work enough, but mostly I think because he's just always doing new things. Sounds really great. All right. Last track on the second side is called Egypt. The Chains Are On. If that doesn't make you think of the cover of the album, I don't know what will. They love to talk about Egypt at this time in heavy metal. Egypt.
So mysterious.
King
So
Menes. Ra. Seth.
Amen Ra.
Amen Ra.
Ramen Ah.
Ramen. Another song evoking rainbows too.
It's a great kind of minor sounding riff.
Yeah, pure heavy metal right there. Another really great bass tone on this one. Cool synth in the background there.
Yeah, nice layer in there of sound.
I love that. Yeah, that dynamic of waiting until after the first chorus to just introduce it. That's great.
Very expressive.
I think it should be a public. If I was like a billionaire, I would buy all the rights to all the Dio music and just have them release all the isolated Dio tracks as a public domain, so you could just clip his vocals wherever you want. I mean, I think we owe that to society because it's just everything he says is so good. Here we go. Goes into this like Zeppelin sort of keyboard sound here.
I was gonna say this kind of like really reminds you of like what he would have done in his Rainbow days.
Tight. Man, that's great.
Yeah, great stuff.
The perfect place for a building to a crescendo here.
That's cool. He's got the guitar line running through in the back.
Yeah. Very nice. Nice ending to the album. And as advertised, who could be disappointed with this ending to this album? It delivers on. I just can't imagine anyone seeing this cover in the record store and then taking it home and being like, "This is just not what I was hoping for or expecting." I
Not
think
as
it's just.
advertised.
Can I get my money back?
Ugh, idiots.
All right, John, what do you think of Egypt? The chains are on.
So I'm gonna give that one a 4.
Right.
Um, I think that that's a great kind of a, I guess you call it like the final epic of the album, even though it wasn't epically long or it didn't feel like it.
No.
Um,
It
it
was
had
like
that.
6 or 7 minutes, I think.
Was
How
it?
long was it? Yeah, it's almost 7 minutes
Yeah, it didn't feel like
or
it.
a little over 7, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you had that kind of like, Egyptian trying to sound Egyptian keyboard beginning. But
Yeah,
then
they
you
didn't
had that,
overdo it though, because like usually in a song, if you see a song called Egypt or the trials of the pharaoh, you're gonna be like, oh boy, here we go. It's gonna, they're gonna really overdo it with the
yeah,
imagery and the scales, but they didn't really do that.
right, exactly. Just like the beginning of Holy Diver, I always thought that keyboard intro kind of had this like Asian flavor to it. It almost sounded like, you'd see Mr. Miyagi pop up like in a second, or
Yep. Pan
like,
flutes, pan
yeah,
flute
exactly.
patch.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I mean, they did a little bit of that, and then you had this great like kind of guitar line running through. I don't even know if you'd, yeah, it's a riff, but I mean, it wasn't
Yeah, dong,
like
gong,
super,
gang, gong, gang, gang, gong.
very
Yep.
interesting, very metal sounding. Um, and I love that middle part too, where he kind of slowed it down and he did something very reminiscent of like mid 70s Rainbow,
Hmm.
which, in his whole album, you haven't heard him really do any kind of like really kind of like, kind of I guess sweet sounding vocals like that. They were very rainbow sounding.
Yep.
But then boom, right into the solo again. It kind of like just like the last in line, it kind of lulled you into that false sense of security. And then Vivian Campbell comes in and like smacks you upside the head with his guitar solo,
Yep.
coming out of nowhere. And yeah, I think it was a little um you know, slower tempo, almost plodding, but very intentionally.
Hmm.
Like I thought it was, a great way to end the album. Like you could either end it with You know, like you couldn't have put like I Speed at Night at the end of this and been like, all right, that's the end of the album. Like some albums, it would be great to end it like that on that high note that just kind of like you finish the album, you're like, you know. But then there are other albums like this where it's more like cerebral, you know,
When
like,
you also get that sense like it's not over yet. Like if you're tying this in somehow to the cover and Murray and whatever's going on there, I like the fact that it opens it up to so much. It's the story is
mhm.
not clear, and maybe there's not even supposed to be a story. But if you're,
Right.
you know, the way I'm viewing it is there's something going on. There's princes and princesses and wizards and witches, and Murray's trying to destroy something, and you know, like so it's like at the end, it's like, is it? Oh, is you know what does happen? Do they win? Do they beat him? Does he destroy them? Is there going to be a sequel? What
Mhm.
you know, like you can tell yourself so many things about the story of what this is, and I don't know how much of that was even, or if any of that was even intentional, but it's
Mhm.
really cool when it's something like that. It's not so spelled out like a, you know, Kilroy or like, you know, whatever, like sort of album, but
Yeah.
it's is it a concept album? Is it not? Who knows? And I like the fact that it leaves so much of it up to you as the listener.
Mhm.
But yes, I give it a 4 as well. Really like that as a closing to the album.
Yeah. Great
And just in
closer.
general. Okay. So that leads us to the next phase of the show, which is while John fumbles with the spreadsheet, I will thank our final level of patrons, the foundation level patrons, the foundation of our very show. Coming in at the £3.50 tier, the deep purple New York tier, we have Lord Longford. At the £3 aromatic feed tier, we have Simon Ford and Richard Brees. At the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, we have Stephen Sharp and Duncan Leask. At the $3 nobody's perfect tier, Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Stuart McCord, Ivan Fjellbu, Runar Simonsen, JJ Stannard, Ruinous Inadequacies, Corey Morissette, Ashley, and Weston Supermare Pilgrim. At the $1.71 I Want My Own tier, we have
Rich, Yangui, Shaylor. You want to be rich, don't you?
And at the $1 made up name tier, we have the Egypt, the Graves Are On Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel. Oh, sorry, I almost said it.
Blackmore tights.
Ooh, almost stepped on Pops there.
You went you went like this. You were just like, "Ooh,"
Ooh,
like it would have been like a really bad like
like I almost said something
mistake.
really offensive. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm canceled.
I'm canceled for saying Blackmore tights. Steve Down to Earth Kohler, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Anders Engstrom, ICDC, Derple Purple, Purple Swede,
Swede.
David Haddam, and our new patron, Jellybean. Thank you so much to everybody for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. And you know what time it is, folks. Well, John's busting out the spreadsheets, and he's fumbling with the tabs. Oops, he sorted it the wrong way. Now he can't tell what is bad. All right, thanks, Merms. John, where does this fall in our rankings?
So, as I thought, this is in our upper upper echelon of ratings here. This is very toward the top with a 8.11 rating. You and I liked it about the same. I liked it a little bit more, but not by much. And we have it has the same rating as, let me see, a couple of other albums here. Whitesnake, Ready and Willin, and Rainbow, Straight Between the Eyes, and Last in Line all get the same rating.
Wow.
And
In good company.
slightly underneath we have Perpendicular.
By
And
only 0.03, so very
yeah, not by
close.
much. So I mean, this is where all the albums up here. This is what makes me happy, is like seeing all the albums that I love up here are just all sitting together.
Mhm.
Just getting to look at them and being like, ah, great album, great album, great album. So
Yeah, and honestly, like, for since this is self-selecting going all the way down towards, you know, even
yeah.
as you approach the bottom, it's still great albums. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
only the last, I don't know, 20 or so that are like, I don't know if I would rush to put that on.
But I mean, I would say like great albums being in the kind of the grouping of what I would call like, the classic albums, the one that I'm excited to listen to all the time. I mean, just glancing at it here, you have the only one that's higher is like you have Dio like way up top, Holy Diver,
Mhm.
which is actually
Which
a
is
surprise
just
that
under
these
Rainbow Rising.
yeah, which these I'm surprised these two are so far apart. But I mean, I would say they're in the same like top selections here. But
But they're only point 0.5 or something apart. It's not
yeah,
it's everything is so tight up in this top part of the spreadsheet here. I mean, you
yeah,
go
just
to, like,
visually.
you've got Rainbow Rising and Perfect Strangers and Stormbringer, Burn, Machine Head, all of these just up here at the top of the spreadsheet.
But yeah, yeah, it's a great album. I feel that this is definitely where it belongs. Um, yeah, there's not much more I can say about it. It's a classic Dio album, for sure. I would say like, out of all of his work, I mean it's hard because Dio has had so many incarnations, as we were discussing earlier. Like if you watched his natural progression, it's just like, yeah, this makes sense. But I think it really also makes a difference as to what Dio you're in the mood for.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the mood for something a little less intense, then you might want to go for like Elf, or even like the first Rainbow album.
Yeah.
If you want something around this area, then you would maybe pick his stuff in Black Sabbath. But if you wanted to really get a lot heavier, then you pick maybe Dehumanizer or the later Dio albums that he
Yep.
recorded. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many different ways you can listen to Dio. It just depends on what your mood is.
So my father-in-law is taking a siblings trip with his brothers and sister. And they're going all over the place, and they're in Berlin right now.
Hmm.
And he just sent me this, which is a picture on the
Oh,
street of a advertising Deep Purple,
nice.
October 19th in Berlin. So he's trying to get me to go. I would love to. Um, I would love to go to Berlin just in general, but yeah. So wow, what a great album. A lot of fun listening to it. Really, really good stuff. Let's take a look at what we have here. I don't have a ton on this album, but I've got, where is it? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. I was like looking at the wrong episode's show notes. This became the band's highest charting album in both the UK and the US, reaching number 4 and number 23 in the 4 in the UK, 23 in the US. Certified gold in 1984 in the US, and platinum in 1987. This was ranked the 372nd best heavy metal. Oh no, hard rock, heavy metal and hard rock album of all time in the hard rock magazines. Rock hard magazines. Hey, 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. So
Hmm.
not too bad. Got a couple of, I think I got a couple of clippings here from the good old Kerrang. Let's see what we got here. Is this a review? No, it's like a long. I think this is the review. So we actually got a couple of, I'll share the screen here, but a couple of ads. Dio, Last in Line, the ear-splitting new album available now. It's got a picture of the whole band there. All in leather. Dio, the single We Rock, available from August 1st. And then this one here, released on July 13th, the ear-splitting new album with Murray dominating. Are you seeing this, or?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a very unusual tagline, ear-splitting new album.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I don't know if I'd call it ear-splitting.
Ear-splitting doesn't sound good.
No.
Sounds quite bad, actually. Here we go. This is Dio, the Last in Line, a review. It says, this is Dio, a worthy follow-up. Review by Mark Putterford. Before I could even flick up my index and little finger, Holy Diver immodestly plunged a red-hot claw down my gullet and wrenched my insides out, leaving a pathetic, spineless mess, sinking to the deck, murmuring, "Album of the year." A little melodramatic.
Yikes.
Such a physically and mentally destructive disc, which I had delivered by the lorry load and went through at approximately 3 a day, proved a vicious double-edged sword for raving Ronald. What? Is he calling Ronnie Ronald? I guess.
I guess.
On the one mitt, it catapulted him to his rightful rostrum at rock's silvery summit. You know, these guys, these like aspiring novelists.
Just tell us what the album's about.
Okay, I'll skip.
Jesus. No, him, not you.
No, I know. I'm gonna skip ahead from some of this. Could Daddy Dio wave his mystical ballpoint wand and twin the Titanesque HD? Okay, skip ahead. Under the standard, the Last in Line, Dio's second Sorceress slate is a classic exhibition of elative diamond hard rock, which stands head, shoulders, and torso above most of its so-called competitors. But good though it undoubtedly is, it's not twice the album Holy Diver was, as RJ would have us believe. More a worthy follow-up. The facts? Well, for starters, there's a We Rock which gallops along on Vinny Appice's snappy, scuttling skins and Jimmy Bain's broad, bobbing bass, whipped up by Vivian Campbell's strapping 6-string grunts. It makes for stirring stuff.
Oh my God. It's like I'm having a hard time listening to you read this because I'm on the edge of my seat, like, don't mess up, Nate. There's a lot of S's. Vivian Campbell's strapping 6-string stunts makes it for a stirring stuff. It's like,
yeah, man, they love the alliteration in these reviews. Holy cow.
Jeez.
The title track follows, forging into a sab-slanted chug after a deceptively tame opening. It's another hefty winner, and the pumping passion that characterizes Dio, setting them aside from the bunch. Here has you almost... Oh, I'm hearing the ending song, the ending of the episode coming in through my headphones. Okay, ironically, Breathless is next, a touch ordinary for Dio's towering standards, but with the eye speed at night, shh. I don't know if he's doing that because it's illegal. Shh, don't tell anyone he speeds at night. Gushing out in fountain of fury, proceedings perk up immediately. A positively pyromaniacal frolic. Oof, I was doing good until I hit that. It's the kind of thing most HM bands kill with amateurism, but Dio executes in style. Okay, so we'll get to the end here. Finally, there's the heaving Egypt, which radiates the country's mystique and captures the multitudinous textures of the little uns, luscious larynx. Even though you feel the throttling the speaker every time he mentions bloody rainbows. Still, the souvenir-sized singing Supremo and his men have spawned another top-notch document which tempts me to proclaim them the hottest property of their ilk at the moment. Go get it! By Mark Putterford.
I expect to look up and see, like, you ever see those cartoons like Tom and Jerry where like his lips are all tied up in like a bow? Like that's how I expected to see like your face look like that after reading all that shit. My God. I mean,
And
it makes for some interesting writing, but I feel like that's kind of like the Vinnie Vincent of writing. It's just like, a few little flourishes here and there are good, but when you put it into every sentence, it's just kind of like, ugh, give it a break.
I think that was that. I mean, we've read enough from Kerrang. That was just kind of like the style. They were going for these really like jazzy
Yeah.
little reviews. But yeah,
Jazzy. Yeah.
it's a bit much. But
Yeah.
whew, all right. Well, on that note, I think we will wrap up this week, and we'll be back at you next week with God only knows what. We'll see you then.
Oh no, you didn't even do any Dio clips.
Oh, I didn't really use them. Oh,
No.
oh no, the episode's done already.
No!
All right, there we go. We snuck in a couple.
All
before.
right, yeah, I think it was the same one I did. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you don't want to go, Dio, but is it okay if we end the episode right now?
All right.
All right.
All right.
Here we go.
Well, yeah, Ronnie, will we be back next week with another riveting topic?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, there we go. We made up for it.
All right. Totally forgot we were going to do that. All right. I'll
well,
see
it's
you
all
next
good.
week, my friend.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.